So being at the iconic Rock of Gibraltar, which is the very bottom of Europe, in fact, it's the closest part of Europe to Africa, was incredibly thrilling to me. And I'm with these two Swiss German guys, and these guys spoke a language called Schweizerdeutsch. Switzerland apparently has French, German, and Italian people to make up the cantons. And these guys spoke a German dialect, and I could kind of understand a little bit of it from my background. But one of these guys, Hans, he spoke English with a Southern accent because he had spent time in Florida and he was quite linguistic and he spoke beautifully. And when I first met him, I said, hey, you look like an American hippie type guy. Where are you from? He goes, I'm from Switzerland. It was quite comical, but he was quite linguistic and spoke Spanish. And he kind of got us through with the Guardia Civil and the arrest and all these kinds of things because he could speak Spanish in a way that sounded like Spanish to me. But anyway, there we were at the bottom of the world, and we were facing the African continent and the mystique of the Islamic culture along with it. And it was an awesome responsibility and kind of scary in a way, frankly. But we felt we could make it work. So we want to show you a little bit of where we were going to, though. The first town was called Tetuan, and we didn't really know quite what we were doing, but we were going to go from Gibraltar down, actually Algeciras next to it, down to Ceuta, and we wanted to get to the Medina of Tetuan, which is going to be our first real African Moroccan experience. So leaving Gibraltar, Algeciras, the Spanish city, which was right across the bay from it, and we go across the water. It was only a couple hours. It was out in an open boat, and we came across to what is called Spain, Ceuta, but it was kind of a bastard city. It was a Spanish culture on the African coast, and it really was quite neither. And when we got there, we said, we need to get the heck going. We want to go, we want to go instead to this wonderful town, because we know it's going to be real, called Tetuan. Okay, and Tetuan is the town that we wanted to get to. But we first had to cross into Moroccan territory. And we land in the port, and we get there, and we know, well, we got to get to the border, and we missed the bus. And the first thing we do is we said, let's walk it. We just got to get going. We got to get into the real Morocco. The Spanish city is not going to do it for us. So here I am with my Swiss buddies. I'm at the end of the world, and I'm facing Moroccan immigration to see if they're going to let me in the country. I heard all these stories, but I still don't believe it. My hair is this big. I come striding up there, and some guy in a uniform looks at me, he goes, go back, cut, go back. I go, oh my God, I come all this way. I've only been with these guys for a little more than a week, but they're my buddies, and I don't want to be alone and go back there. They're getting in. I'm the victim. Well, I don't know what to do. We turn around. The two Swiss German guys, they have these incredible Swiss Army packs. They're kind of cube shaped, and they have fur on them, believe it or not. And Oliver reaches in, and he says, I've got scissors. Oh my God, here, Steve. We go by the beach. He's cutting. The curls are falling into my hand. I've got all these curls. We go back up to the immigration guy, the same uniform guy, looking at me like with a mustache. No. Good. Not enough. Go back. What? I took so much off already. So behind me is Moroccan customs. If you're on your way into Morocco from Ceuta, this is where you go. And it's a raging, kind of a gray sea, and the picture behind me is similar. This is a modern day picture, but it was right by the sea. And now I got half my hair cut off, and the guy is cutting off more. Good old Oliver is out there with his scissors. And what rolls up but a bus of American straight tourists. I'm this hippie, and they are laughing and they're taking pictures. Oh, you're yelling and swearing at me, and you piece of dirty crap, get the hell out of here. I'm going, oh yeah, whatever. And I'm like in shock. I'm at the end of the earth. This hair that I was so invested in is gone, but somehow or another, we make it through and we're on our way to Tetuan. So I finally got into Morocco, but I was quite a ways from the real first city, which I wanted to see, which is Tetuan. So somehow or another, me and the two Swiss German guys jumped on a bus and we went on to Tetuan. And there, the real adventure began. Well, neither I nor most people have ever heard of the Medina of Tetuan. And Medina means the old city. This is where I went to, and it was quite incredible. I'm going to show you where we went to right now. Let's try it. And here is the scene in Tetuan. And there's the city to the left, and it goes up into the mountains. And the city itself, the old city, was quite an adventure. And I get into town, we get off the bus, and guess what happens? Immediately, we get hustled by the same hustlers we were afraid of in Tangier. Oh my God, they were all over us. Tons and tons of, hey, Mister, hippy, hippy, oh yeah. Oh my God, it was crazy. But somehow or another, we tried to avoid everybody. But of course, you wind up with one of these hustlers when all the rest of them give up. Oh my God, what a friggin' mess that was. But we stopped being hustled by being hustled to only one guy instead of dozens of them. They started peeling off. They got tired.
Woodstock. Hey, Woodstock, here I go, man. Oliver clutches a thick bundle of hair from the back of my head. The shears clip and pull through my tresses. Huge clumps of curls fall around me on the sandy beach. I'm losing my hair. I've had so much vested in my hair as a major part of my ego and pride. My hair always announced me everywhere I go, and before I'd arrive, from a distance, people in society could gather from my look and demeanor that I'm a radical hippie. My hair did that for me, and I enjoyed the notoriety that came with it. My hair made me a walking one-person counterculture movement onto myself, I say. You are still you, man, says Oliver, stopping and snipping his progress away. Your hair doesn't define you. It get that being a long hair is cool, but so is not being a long hair, man. Yeah, man, I know, but you must admit that a head of hair like mine becomes part of your personality. I grew into the look and the feeling, for good and for ill, that this head of hair has aroused. From the women I've met who want to touch it and fondle it through their fingers, to the idiots who threaten to kick my ass because of it. All that vested pride and selfish ego trip wrapped up in your head of hair is gone now, man, says Hans. Are you still you, Woodstock? Oliver resumes shearing more of my locks till no hair touches my shoulder or covers my ears. Feel like I have a new head. I'm dazed and confused going through this personal trauma. Oliver finishes the last snip. I think you should pass through inspection with no problems now, says Oliver. Oh yeah, interjects Hans. I brush my hands through my curly hair. I'm speechless.
So now I'm basically in a state of shock. I get my hair cut twice. Tourists screaming at me, go back. The guy finally lets me in. And I think I'm in like post-traumatic shock because this hair of mine has been growing for years and I loved it. So somehow or another, myself and my Swiss German buddies, we stagger on to a bus and we head towards the town of Tetuan. And it was a very disorienting bus because I'm like, my hair, what am I gonna do without my hair? Shucks. So here I am getting my way into Morocco finally after coming down the coast of Spain. A hippie. And you may find it a little weird that some guy wearing a necktie is talking about being a hippie. Well, 50 years have passed and I want to come back here and becoming a lawyer. And lawyers wear neckties. Boy, that was the last thing I wanted to do when I was traveling. And these ties, though, are special. They're Jerry Garcia ties. Yes, that's right. And Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead makes neckties. Well, he didn't make them, but he made designs and somebody made ties out of them. And as a result of my interest in the other worlds of hippies and things, I wound up starting wearing these ties in the 90s. And then recently, I found that I was able to get these ties, vintage ones, online because I liked the certain ones from the 90s. Well, here I am talking about hippies wearing a necktie. A little incongruous. However, I should have you know that my co-writer, Fred Burke, F.T. Burke, wrote a book called The Bohemian Adventure, which is all about the Grateful Dead. That's one of his other published books. You should read it. I read it. It's terrific. When we get on the bus, all of a sudden it's a transformation of culture. All the men are wearing jalabas. Those are the gowns. You see these floor length with a hood on that makes them look like they're a bunch of monks. We get into the bus, and I'm in this state of shock anyway from losing my hair, but all of a sudden there's a whole different culture. I'm a stranger in a strange land. We make it into Tetuan, and we find ourselves descended upon by a horde of vulturous hustlers. We thought we were going to avoid this by entering through Sayuta and going to Tetuan, but we were wrong. There were so many hippie, hey, mister, do this. Everyone's leeching onto us, lurching onto us. Finally, one of them is getting through to us. Hey, I can help you, and I'm a friend, blah, blah, blah. We don't know where we're going. I'll take you to lunch. I'll take you to this. And meanwhile, some of these hustlers, they keep peeling off. Finally, it's just us and one guy. He takes us up to a place where we have an incredible experience. So here we are, me and my two Swiss German buddies, and we're in a very exotic place. None of us has ever been in a place like this. And here we are with our one guy, this Ali, and he's taking us about, and he takes us into an old building, and we go up into the second floor, and it's overlooking a courtyard. And there's all kinds of guys out there. These are people who are close, proximate. They're talking to each other. They're grasping each other. They're hugging each other. They're very personable and close to each other. And we're looking out and, Ali brings out some hashish. Oh, well, I hadn't had some of that in a while. I certainly wasn't going to bring it into Morocco because Morocco was not a legal place for hashish, even though everybody all over is smoking this kind of marijuana product called keef in these pipes, long pipes. Well, we try this hashish and oh my God, it's phenomenal. And I'm looking out over all this activity and all this humanity intermingling, and all of a sudden, the Mazayan calls out from a tower, oh my God, my blood stood still. Everybody starts rushing. They're going off to the mosque. And I'm looking over this incredible mass of people going backwards and forwards and everywhere. And the world is just coming apart on me and together all at the same time. This very fascinating culture is unfolding before me, but I'm high as a kite. So now I'm kind of real high and I'm staggering about a little bit, but I'm doing all right because I'm used to this stuff as a young hippie. And me and the Swiss German guys go off with Ali and we go to some stores and we get some great food, eat the wonderful Moroccan food that I became interested in, the wonderful soups and their brown bread, which was a delicious bread, fresh all the time. And we wind up kind of at his house. And he says, oh, let me do you a favor and sell you some hashish. Well, we did not want to buy or carry hashish because we're foreigners. We're just in this country. We've only been in the country for several hours, really. It's starting to get dark out. And somehow or another, he says, oh, come on, just buy some. He tries to sell us a kilogram, 2.1 pounds of hashish, like this, a big sheet of it. He said, no. Somehow or another, he talks the three of us into buying half of a kilo, a little over a pound. That's a lot of hashish. These come in chunks of an ounce apiece. So now you got 18 ounces, 17 ounces of hashish. And we walk off with it. And me and Hans and Oliver going, oh my God, this is scary. We're carrying now. I didn't want to be carrying. And guess what happens? The hustlers see us again. Oh, there's those guys. And they seem to know that we've got this hashish. Or so we think so, because we're kind of a little paranoid, a little high. And we said, we got to get out of this Tetuan. We somehow or another find the bus station, and we're scared. We are like, how are we going to get the hell out of this town without getting arrested, without getting busted? Somehow or another, we get on the bus, an all-night bus ride to Casablanca. Yes, the famous Casablanca. So here we are in the sleazy, more ethnic, low-class part of the city, because we're poor travelers, hippie guys, so we're trying to find a cheap place to stay. And therefore, it's the old town. And it was kind of a cool place, but it really was a little more European and more big city, and we really did appreciate it. We spent about a day and a half. We said, you know what? It's time to get the hell out of this. We came here for one reason. We want to go, yes, we want to go for the Marrakesh Express. And we find our way to the train station a couple of days later, and we are off on the famous Marrakesh Express. I was at Woodstock. It's part of our story, by the way. And of course, that was a situation where I confronted Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And in fact, they confronted me with their famous song, Marrakesh Express. So we got on an old rickety train and we headed south down to Marrakesh. All aboard that train. Oh, we could hear that song in our minds because we had been steeped in the Crosby, Stills, and Nash version, which was the epitome of being the hippie, was to get to Europe, to go down to Marrakesh and make it happen. And that's why we went on the Marrakesh Express, to open up a whole world of exotic fantasy and magic. Next week, we're going to follow our intrepid traveler to Marrakesh, spending a whole week and more with the hippies and with the international travelers and being part of the marketplace and being part of the famous holiday of Ramadan, where nobody eats all day long. And then in the night hits, the marketplace explodes with energy of people eating, and they stay up all night long. And then you'll find that our intrepid traveler, he has some tough times getting involved in this drug situation, which is epidemic in Marrakesh, going to the famous Berber market, getting actually opium pods and boiling them into tea. But it's a whole kind of sordid detail. But finally, Stevie Wander winds up with a group of travelers and with a fair young lady from England.
Just then the taunting street hustler walks by us three, then turns around and looks straight into Hans's face and says, "The cops are coming. Ali is a bad man. You in trouble. Cops gonna get you on the bus." The heckler proceeds to walk away, laughing at us. I am stoned out of my mind, and this country had me totally freaked out. Shortly thereafter, the bus arrives and we get on without incident, although we are admittedly paranoid, glancing over our shoulders, behind us, and at everyone in the near vicinity. All aboard. We can breathe easier now as the bus departs. We are off to Casablanca now. Only a few people are on the bus besides us. Hans, Oliver, and I each take an empty seat to unload our backpacks and sightsee out the window. As the bus rolls down the road, our group paranoia ceases to be a burden. We can relax and enjoy ourselves. Nobody is after us. Casablanca. We are staying in a cheap hotel in a low-down area of this huge Moroccan city. Good enough for us. Price is right. The men are smoking their keef, a cut marijuana product, in long, thin pipes with a clay bowl. Everywhere in cafes, they drink the ubiquitous mint green tea and smoke keef. The indigenous Moroccan music of fluttering flutes and pounding drums fills the air. "Hey, hippy!" is a common refrain from kids on the street. These people are so mysterious to me, as we must be to them. This is a starkly different world from any place I have ever known. The strangeness of Europe, in comparison, now feels familiar and comfortable to me versus this culture here. I will learn, adapt, grow, and evolve. I feel like I'm in some fairy tale of Arabian Nights. To simply feel the flow of this life here has become a semi-religious experience for me. I'm filled with awe and wonder, a deep curiosity to learn more, experience more, to understand others on a soul level. I'm a wanderer, free to be.